Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome back to the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu second wave Sadhana Bhakti Eastern Division Purva Bhagaga Dvitiya Lahari Eastern Division second wave, that is Angas of Bhakti, scriptural prose. Yesterday we saw one of the Angas, and the most important Angas among many of the 64 Angas is Tat Kripa Ikshanam, expecting the mercy of the Lord. And we saw Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentary, which is very, very philosophical and very moving also. And also Srila Prabhupada's statements in his summary study, how this verse should be the guide for all the devotees. So many times devotees, while practicing devotional service, become very perturbed or disturbed, you can say, when bad things happen to them, or anything can happen like that. And why did this happen to me? So this kind of questions come, and they can disturb one's faith, or they can actually test one's faith in Krishna consciousness. So once a sannyasi was giving a lecture, and he mentioned how one of the devotees had gone to visit Cambodia, where there is the Angkor Wat, Vishnu temple. So he had to cross a river by a boat, and the boat somehow, drowned. And somehow he was able to get a lifeboat or a tube, and he got saved. And some of them who were in that boat, they died. So this devotee was quite disturbed with this incident, why this such a thing happened. And then he asked his spiritual master, he said, I have been last 20 years practicing spiritual life, and I've been following Ekadasi very sincerely. Why did such a thing happen to me? So sometimes some incidents in our practice of spiritual life can disturb us or perturb us, and how we should see these incidents, from Shastra angle, especially from the Acharya's angle. So yesterday, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary we saw. This is how we'll have to see. No matter what distress comes in the practice of bhakti or whatever happiness comes, all is the mercy of the Lord. And whatever distress comes, we should think that this is just to make me humble so that I can, kripa, I can ask for kripa for the Lord. And wholeheartedly, with grateful heart, one should offer prayers, Ridva Vapobir. So that was the theme yesterday we saw. So now let us see the next limb of, the next anga, that is Smriti, remembrance. So Rupa Goswami gives first the definition of Smriti. Atha Smriti, Yatha Katam Chin Manasa Sambandha Smritir Uchate. Somehow or other, Yatha Katam, connecting the mind to the Lord. Chin Manasa Sambandha is called remembrance. Smriti Uchate. Now, devotees, if you remember one scriptural proof we had given for sadhana bhakti. Anyone remembers what was the scripture proof we had given where this word had come, smriti or smaranam, like that? Anyone remembers scriptural proof for sadhana bhakti we had given where smaranam or smriti had come? One scriptural proof for sadhana bhakti. Anyone remembers? So devotees are also expected that whatever is discussed in the last class, we revise either mentally or go through them. And the previous classes also like that. When we do this revision, it helps us to connect to the subject what is being also further discussed. So the verse was from the Padma Puran, Smartavya Smatatam Vishnu, Vismartavya Najatuchit. And then there was 215, Tasmat Bharat Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishwaropi Shrotavya Smartavya Ichitabhayam, like that. Both to remember. So Smaran is defined here. Some other, if you connect the mind to the Lord, then it is remembrance, Spriti. Now, proof. Yatha Vishnu Purani. Smriti Sakala Kalyana Bhajanam Yatra Jayate Purusham Tam Ajam Nityam Rajami Sharanam Harim. I surrender Rajami Sharanam to the unborn eternal person Hari. Tam Harim Ajam Nityam. By remembrance of whom Smrite Yatra, one takes possession of all auspiciousness. Sakala Kalyana Bhajanam Jayate. So I was just speaking that it should, the new year should bring Shobha. Shobha means auspicious, Shubhruta. So the highest process of Kalyana is to remember the Lord. And in the Gita also Krishna uses this. When Arjuna asks this question, what happens to a yogi if he doesn't attain perfection in the 6th chapter? Nahi kalyana krit durgatim tat gachati. No, there cannot be any inauspiciousness for one who is on the path of kalyana krit. Kalyana krit is the path of self-realization, and it can specifically refer to Bhakti Yoga. So the highest auspiciousness is to remember Krishna. So this is one reference from the Vishnu Puran. The second reference proof is from the Padma Puran. Prayane cha yannama smaratam vranam sadhyo nashyati papago namastasme chidatmane. I offer the respects to the omniscient Lord. Namastasme Chid Atmani. Remembrance of his name, Yan Nama Smaratam, while living or dying. Prayane cha, aprayane cha. Prayane means at the time of dying, and aprayane means while living. Immediately destroys sadhyo nashati, heaps of sin committed by men. Vrinam papa ogha. Ogha means, it's an ocean or a heap. So by remembering Krishna, we destroy all our sinful reactions or sins, heap of sins. Now in the Bhagavad-Gita also there is, in the 8th chapter, remembrance of Krishna at the time of death. That's how Prabhupada titles it. Prayana kala manasa chalena. That time that term prayana comes here. So here in Padma Puran, this is reference. Jiva Goswami says prayana means at the stage of dying. Aprayani means while living. In Gita, this is also stated prayana kale manasa chalena. Yeah, I already quoted that. So this is regarding the remembrance of the Lord. Now there is another verse I'm quoting, which is not part of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, but it is very interesting. Actually, there are 3 Charama shlokas of surrender. Charama means the acme or the pinnacle or the summit shlokas of surrender. So, anyone who knows what is the Charama shloka of surrender in the Bhagavad Gita? Anyone knows can raise their hands. What is the pinnacle verse of surrender in the Bhagavad Gita? Yes, Pavan Govind Prabhuji. Yeah, I have to unmute you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam Prabhu. Wish you a very happy new year from our side. Sarva dharma parityajya mam ekam saranam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami masucha.
Correct. So that is the Charama shloka of surrender in the Gita. Now, which is the Charama shloka of surrender in the Ramayana? Yeah, this one is a little difficult. It's a very famous verse, well-known verse. Anyone knows Charama shloka of surrender in Ramayana? No. Sakradeva prapannoyam tava asmi iti yache aham abhayam sarvada etad dridam vratam mamma. This Lord Ram speaks when Vibhishan comes and surrenders to him. And when Vibhishan comes, many in Lord's army, like the generals, they tell, oh, he's from the side of enemy. Don't give him shelter. He might have come to cheat us, or he might have come to take information. But Hanuman says that I have observed him and he's very sincere. So you should give him shelter. So Lord Ram has a meeting and he takes everyone's opinion. And after that, he says that even if Ravana comes and surrenders, I will accept him. And that time he speaks this verse, Sakrit eva prapannos. Sakrit means even once. Prapanna means to surrender. Tava asmi iti yachet. And if once that devotee says, oh Lord, I am yours, Tava asmi iti yachet. Abhayam aham sarvada. I will bestow him fearlessness. Eta dridam vratam mama. This is my vow I take. This is what Lord Ram says. So we can have full faith in Lord Ram's statement because Lord Ram is Maryada Purushottam. Sometimes Krishna can cheat us because he's Leela Purushottam. I'm just saying like that. But This is Lord's Ram's statement, and Ramanacharya says that this is the Charam Shloka of the Ramayana. Similarly, there is a Charam Shloka in Vara Puran where Lord Vara speaks to Devi, Bhumi Devi. Sthite manasi swaste sharire satiyo naraha dhatu samye sthite smrita vishwarupam cha mamajam tatastam mriyamana tu काष्ठापाषण्ण सन्निभाम् अहं स्मरामि मद्भक्तं नयामि परमां गतिम् स्थिते मनसि swaste. If anyone thinks of me when the mind is sound, sthite manasi, when the mind is sound, with the body in good health, swaste sharire, and with all mental and physical faculties working perfectly and intact. Dhatu samya sthiti. The dhatus are also working nicely. Thinks that I am indeed the very cause of this universe or the form of this universe, Vishwarupam. How does he think that ultimately the universe is a manifestation of Krishna and Krishna is the cause of this universe? That I am without birth, Ajam, then I assure you, Devi, that I will remember this devotee of mine, Aham Smarami Bhad Bhaktam, when he or she is on his or her deathbed, lying helplessly, Tatastam Riyamanam tu, like a stone or a log of wood, Kashtan Pashanya Sannibham. I personally take him or her to the supreme abode. Nayami Paramam Gatim. So, at least when our mental and physical faculties, when our body and health is in good condition, we should make determined efforts to remember Krishna always. Because that is the anga of sadhana bhakti. Smartavya satatam Vishnu, vismartavyam na jatuchit. So that once if we do this, then when our mind and body are in not good shape, especially at the time of death, we know that. Then what will happen? Even if we are not able to remember the Lord will remember us and the Lord will take us to his abode. So this the Lord Varadev promises in the Vara Puran. So this is also called as the Charama Shloka of the one of the Charam Shlokas. There are 3 Charam Shlokas and this is from the third one, that is from the Vara Puran. The point is ultimately Krishna promises in the Bhagavad-Gita, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha Mayi Arpit Mano Buddhir Mam Evashasi Asamshaya. At all times, Sarveshu Kaleshu, Anusmara Yuddha, remember me and fight. Mayi Arpit Mano Buddhi. Surrender your mind and intelligence to me, because only with the mind and intelligence absorbed in Krishna we can remember Krishna. In fact, then Mam Evashasi, you will come to me, na samshaya. There is no doubt about it. So ultimately, we have to, when we are in good sound body and good health, we should put determined efforts to always remember Krishna. And the best way to do that is among the Navvida Bhakti, there is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Smaranam is the third. So Shravanam means to hear. So we should put determined efforts to hear regularly Krishna Katha. And Kirtanam means to vibrate Krishna Katha. Only one who has heard sufficiently and grasped the subject can speak the subject. So by preaching Krishna Katha, we cannot preach until we have understood the subject. So we have to use our intelligence to understand the subject and then speak it in a convincing way to others. That is Kirtanam. If we do Shravanam and Kirtanam, and Prabhupada in the first canto, first chapter itself, in one of the purports mentions that Shravanam and Kirtanam are the progressive way for spiritual advancement. So then definitely over a period of years, natural spontaneous remembrance or smaranam will happen. So that was just the point, additional point I had to mention. Next, Anga 46th, Dhyanam, meditation. Atha Dhyanam. Dhyanam Rupa Guna Krida Sevade Shushtu Chintanam. Meditation means Dhyanam, to contemplate with absorption, Shushta Chintanam, on the Lord's form, qualities, pastimes, and service. Rupa, Guna, Krida, Sevade. Now, there is a technical difference between remembrance, smriti, and dhyan. So, here in the footnote, it is there. Meditation is absorption, skillful contemplation. Smriti, which was in the previous verse, is thinking of the Lord somehow or other. Just somehow or other. I see a mountain and I think, oh, Govardhan. So I think I see the sky and I think, oh, Krishna's form is like a blue. So like that. Or I see the dark clouds and I think Krishna's form, Sham Sundar, resembles like this. So that is in general smriti. But meditation is absorption, deep absorption, and it is skillful contemplation. Systematically to deeply contemplate our subject. So that is the difference between smriti and dhyan. And as mentioned in this definition, Rupa Goswami is also mentioning that there are four types of dhyan: Rupa Dhyanam, Guna Dhyanam, Krida Dhyanam, Seva Dhyanam. And he will be giving the quotations: Rupa Dhyanam from Narsimha Puran, Guna Dhyanam from Vishnu Dharma, Krida Dhyanam from Padma Puran, and Seva Dhyanam from some other Purana, which is not given, the source is not given. So let us see now each of these dhyanams, the scriptural quotations. Tatra Rupa Dhyanam Yatha Narsimhi. Bhagavat Charane Dvanda Dhyanam Nirdvandam Iritam Papinopi Prasangena Vihitam Suhitam Param. Meditation on the 2 feet of the Lord. Bhagavat Charana Dvanda Dhyanam is considered to the means of attaining freedom from the dualities of this world. Nirdvandam iritam. Even a sinner, papina api, who casually meditates, prasangena vihitam, attains the highest benefit. Suhitam param. This is from the Narsimha Puran. So, Bhagavad Charana Dvanda. Dvanda means, it is Dvivachan, because the Lord has 2 lotus feet. So, meditating on the 2 lotus feet of the Lord will make us free from the dualities of this material world. So, we have these dualities in this material world: Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, Mana, Apamana. Sita and Ushna, that is hot and cold, they affect the body. And Sukha and Dukkha, happiness and distress, affect the mind. And Mana and Apmana, affect our soul. They, they affect not soul, sorry, the false ego. So like that, at these different levels, these dualities exist. So by meditating on the Lord's feet, what happens? We become free from these dualities. Ultimately, if you become free from dualities, you will ultimately attain the Lord also. Nirdvandam here means surpassing the sorrow consisting of dualities such as cold and heat. Iritam means it is said in the scriptures to be auspicious. It is so auspicious that even a sinner by casual meditation attains the most excellent benefit. So this is the potency of meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord. I think it is in Narsimha Puran itself, where there is a story mentioned of how a sannyasi was on his way to the forest, and while he was in the forest resting for some time, he saw an hunter who was hunting animals. And even for a hunter to hunt animals, he has to focus. He has to do meditation, absorb himself to be focused in hunting the animal. So the sannyasi or the sadhu became compassionate on him. And then he called him and he said, you are hunting for animals, but why have you heard about one animal who is half human being and half man? He said, I have never seen such a creature in this forest. So many years I've been living. So this sadhu described him the form of Narsimadev. And hearing the description, he said, now you go and hunt for this uh, particular species. So this hunter, having faith in the sadhu's word, started meditating on the form which was described by the sadhu, and he was looking with his bow and arrow where such an animal is there in the forest. And because he was so much absorbed in the meditation on the form, Lord Narsimhadev was pleased, and Narsimhadev appeared. And in fact, this hunter, seeing the Lord's beautiful form, somehow tied him, tied Narsimhadev. Can you imagine Narsimhadev being tied by ropes? And he said, I've caught this animal. And he got to the sadhu, and the sadhu was shocked. My goodness, he has captured Narsimhadev. And he offered his dandavats and prayers to Narsimhadev. So that is the potency of dhyan. So I think this is there in the Narsim Puran. I don't know where the reference is, but I have heard in one lecture about the story, which is a true story, which is there in the scriptures, Rupa Dhyanam. So that is how absorbing it can be, and that is the ultimate highest benefit we can attain from Rupa Dhyanam. Okay. Guna Dhyanam yata karme. Ye kurvanti sada bhaktya guna anusmaranam hare pra prakshina kalo saugaste pravishyanti hare padam. Those who constantly meditate on the qualities of the Lord, ye kurvanti sada hare guna anusmaranam, with devotion, bhaktya, having destroyed all contaminations, prakshina kalosa oghaste. Oghas means again a huge heap of contaminations. Enter the abode of the Lord. Pravishanti hare padam. So there are 64 wonderful qualities which Rupa Goswami in the southern division of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu will discuss. So one should make it a point to, in the Bhagavatam when he studies, to have a collection of verses where the wonderful qualities of the Lord are manifested. Like Uddhav, Aho Bhakyam Stanakalu Kutam, that verse he says, Kamba Dayalu Sharanam. How merciful is the Lord. And the beauty of the Lord is mentioned in the 10th canto by the gopis. So like that, one should have a assortment, I can say, a collection of verses which each of the qualities of the Lord can be mentioned from the Bhagavatam and can be regularly recited. So like that, when we meditate on these qualities with devotion, this is the effect. And then this is the result. We can enter the abode of the Lord. Now we can all see that how potent and powerful each of these limbs of devotion are. And from the scriptural quotes, it is quite evident that this is the effect. What happens if we perform these angas. So we should have firm faith in what the scriptural quotations are saying. Krida dhanam yata padma puran. Sarva madhurya sharani sarvadbhuta mayani cha dhyanan haresh charitrani lalitani vimuchate. He who meditates dhyanan on the most sweet, Sarva Madhuri Sarani, most astonishing, Sarva Adbhuta Mayani Cha, charming pastimes of the Lord, Harer Lalitani Charitrani, attains liberation, Vimuchate. So for devotees, the highest liberation is in the form of prema. But because it is a Padma Puran verse, in general it is mentioned as Vimuchate. So the charming pastimes of the Lord are given especially in the 10th canto. And Sarva Madhurya Sarani. So there are various bhajans written by our Vaishnava Acharyas which bring out the sweetness of Krishna. There is one famous bhajan, Adaram Maduram Hasitam Maduram, like that. Everything how about the Lord is Maduram. So these are the kinds of meditation we should regularly do. Seva Dhyanam Yatha Purantare, some unspecified Puran. Manasenopacharena Paricharya Harim Sada Pare Van Manasa Gamyam Tam Sakshat Pratipedere Pratipedere. Constantly serving the Lord, Harim Sada Paricharya, with items produced in the mind. Now, note down very carefully. It's not the physical actual items, but items produced in the mind. Manasena upacharena. Some devotees have directly attained the Lord. Tam sakshat prati pedere, who is not approachable for others by words or mind. Pare vak manasa agamyam. So this is the famous story from the Brahmanda Puran, which Prabhupada quotes also in his summary study. Jiva Goswami gives now the, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, not Brahmanda Puran. Jiva Goswami gives now the description. There is a story related in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. There once lived a Brahmana in the city of Pratishtana. Though he was pure, he was peaceful, considering that he was reaping his karma. Being of a sincere mind, one time he heard about Vaishnava practices in an assembly of Brahmanas. Hearing that these processes could bring perfection just by engaging the mind, the impoverished man began to practice this. Finishing his daily rituals after taking bath in the Godavari, that means Pratishtana is somewhere on the bank of Godavari, becoming peaceful in mind, he would sit down in a solitary place and perform the preliminaries of worship such as pranayam. So before worshipping, he used to sit and do pranayam. That is why before sitting for japa, it is recommended that we do a little pranayam exercises to uh, inhale deeply and exhale slowly and calm down the mind so that we can attentively chant also. Becoming steady in mind, he would mentally establish the deity form of his dear Lord. So all this he was doing mentally. Mentally putting on a fine cloth, he would offer the Lord his respects, pull up his cloth and begin cleaning the Lord's temple. Offering respects again, he would then bring water in gold and silver pots from all the tirthas headed by Ganga and gather various materials for serving the Lord. So because it was not a physical act of bringing water, although he was poor, but he was very magnanimous in his heart. So why to only get from Godavari nearby? Ultimately, the mind is, you can expand unlimitedly. Let me get water in golden pots, silver pots, and let me not even get only from Godavari. Let me get it from the Ganges in the Himalaya, get from the Yamuna, get from Kaveri, from Krishna River, like that. He was mentally going there and actually collecting all the water. After bathing the Lord, he would perform Artika and offer items befitting a king to the deity in his mind. So he was doing this bathing, in fact, in his mind only, not the physical bathing. He was doing the Arti also in the mind. After completing that worship, he would experience great happiness, which would last the whole day. So Prabhupada in his summary study mentions that this Brahmana was not just one day doing this act. Repeatedly, day after day, he was doing this manas seva and offering this everything in the mind. After practicing for some time in this way, he once prepared in his mind some milk rice, sprinkled with ghee, and put it in a gold pot for the Lord to eat. So even the cooking, what he was doing in his mind. There was no milk, there was no rice. So in the mind, he would go and actually milk the cow, and from the farmer get the rice, and then cook the sweet rice and offer ghee. And he was again magnanimous. He used to offer in his mind gold pots for the Lord to have. In doing this, his two thumbs happened to enter into the preparation that was bubbling from heat. So you know that usually sweet rice, the more cold it is, the much better it is, the much sweeter it tastes. So he wanted to see whether what I'm going to offer now, sweet rice, whether it is easily, uh, it will burn the tongue, or it is soft to eat, it is not so hot. So he tried to touch the fingers and see whether it is hot. And in fact, according to Ayurvedic Shastra, we should not eat with the spoon. Because if the food is very hot and you directly put it in your mouth and it is very hot, it can burn your tongue, and the body is not ready to take it. So suddenly it can cause a disturbance in the body. But when we touch the food with our fingers, uh, and we know, oh, it is very hot. Okay, let me make it a little cool. And then when we touch with the fingers, now the body is ready to adapt to that hot food. And now when the tongue has the hot food, it is ready. Otherwise, it might be taken by a shock. So that shock can affect the body. So that is why it is recommended not to have with spoon. But here the case is different. He wanted to see whether the Lord, it will not be hot for the Lord. So he touched with his two thumbs. Realizing what had happened, he explained, how unfortunate, this offering has been spoiled. With sorrow, he rejected the offering. His samadhi then broke, and he felt great pain because of his burnt thumbs. So, Jiva Goswami, in his commentary, he's explaining that actually the sweet rice was burnt. But Prabhupada, in his commentary, summary study, mentions that actually when he put his fingers, the sweet rice, his hands got burned because it was very hot. And then he broke from his meditation. And when he broke out of his meditation, he actually saw his two fingers were burnt. So although there was no sweet rice physically, but Jiva Goswami gives this explanation. Understanding this, the Lord seated in Vaikuntha laughed. So the Lord was along with the Lakshmi, and the Lord started smiling and laughing. So somebody, if smiles and laughs, if you're sitting in front of one person, another devotee, and he just starts smiling without no reason or laughing, he can be quite disturbed. So Lakshmi and others asked him the cause of his laughter. So they asked him, why are you laughing? Then the Lord brought him in an airplane to his side and showed Lakshmi his burnt thumbs. So the Lord, instead of narrating, the Lord sent his Viman, and this Brahmana came to Vaikuntha. And the Lord himself told to narrate what had happened. He then fixed the Brahmana permanently by his side because of his qualifications. So he actually attained the Lord. So this is the potency of Manasya Seva. And it is not so easy to do also, Manasya Seva. We know that. So there are, in the Bhagavad-Gita, 11th canto, the deities can be made of different elements, dhatus. One is the Pancha Dhatu, we know that. The deities can be made of mud. They can be made of wood. Gaur-Nita deities, especially in the West Bengal, many are wood carved deities. There is also the deity in the mind. The deities can be made of jewels also. and painting also, that is also considered, but the deity in the mind is considered the most powerful, and that is also considered as a deity. So this Brahmana was offering all his seva for the deity in his mind, and this was the effect. So this is from the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. Any questions, any clarifications up till now? Okay, so let us see the next Anga. Atha Dasyam. Now from here onwards, here onwards the Angas are in little more detail. Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani, Vedhanam. These are the important Angas. And where have you come across this Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani, Vedhanam? Anyone knows? Where have you come across this Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani? Here Rupa Goswami is giving that as Anga, it as a 47th Anga. But where have you come across these Angas? Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani, Vedhanam. Yes, Mohan Rup Shamji.
Devotional service, 9 forms of devotional services.
Yes, yes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. So Dasyam is 7th, 8th is Sakyam, and 9th is Atma Nivedanam in the Navida Bhakti. So now 47th, Rupa Goswami is saying Dasyam. And we will see now Dasyam today, maybe, or Sakyam also. Let us see how things go. So today we will see Dasyam first. Okay. Atha Dasyam. First, Goswami will mention what is Dasyam. Dasyam karmarpanam tasya kaikaram api sarvata. Dasyam, he defines Dasyam first. Dasyam is defined as offering the results of prescribed duties. Dasyam karmarpanam, and acting as a menial servant of the Lord. Tasya kainkaram api sarvata. So there are two types of dasyam. One is karmarpanam and another is kainkaryam. So here I have mentioned karmarpanam means offering the results of prescribed duties, and kainkaryam is acting as a menial servant. Now, can devotees think for a moment and explain or give me an answer? What is the difference between these two types of dasyam, where there is karmarpanam and kainkaryam? In the first type, karmarpanam is our identity mainly, and in the second type, kainkaryam, what is our identity? Dasyam. Anyone would like to try? I've given some hint. Okay. Yes, Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji.
Karma is Karma Yogi.
Okay, correct.
And
that is true. But still more detail.
Kainkaryam is devotee, like doing Bhakti Yoga.
Yes. But what is the identification between the Karma Yogi and the Bhakti Yogi? How do they identify themselves?
Like they do what they like and then offer the results to the Lord. That's Karma Yogi. But Kainkaryam, the Bhakti Yoga, like they will do the things or acts only which is favorable to the Lord or which is meet for the Lord. Bhakti Yogi. Bhakti Yogi.
So just the identity, what a Karma Yogi identifies himself, and what is the identity a devotee has in this, in both of these, in Karmarpanam and Kainkaryam. Yes, Vaishali Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I think in Karma Yoga they think as a doer, whereas in Bhakti Yoga it is They think as a
No, no,
servant of the.
no, not. No, based on the Karma Yoga is based on Varnashram. So what is their identity? Or how do they identify themselves?
um,
Little fine and subtle, but it's quite simple also at the same time. Offering the results of prescribed duties. Yes. So what? Anyone would like to try? So in karma, basically the identification is based on varnashram. Varna means I'm a Brahmana, and Brahmana prescribed duties are these. And I'm doing these duties because I'm a Brahmana. So my identity is based on my swabhav. It is based on my swabhav. By nature, the nature of the subtle body, the impressions, the sattvic impressions are there, which are more of mode of goodness. So my identification is not based on the deepest core of my existence, that is spirit soul. So that is a little subtle difference here, karmarpanam. I identify myself as Vaishya or a Shudra or a Kshatriya, and I do my Kshatriya duties, prescribed duties, and offer the results to Krishna. Offering the results of my duties, and these duties are done based on one's nature, swabhav, which is based on one's varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Whereas in Kainkaryam, I identify myself as I am a part and parcel of Krishna. I am spirit soul, part and parcel of Supreme Soul, and I act in that. My identification is I am spirit soul. Here, my identification is I am a Brahmana, I am a Kshatriya. This is based on Varna. I hope this is clear now. So let us now go into the commentary of Jiva Goswami. Offering the results of prescribed Varnashram actions, Karma Arpanam is considered by some to be Dasyam. So Varnashram actions, and Varnashram actions are based on Varna. Varna means Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And based on that identification, you do your actions. Whereas in Bhakti, the actions are based on I am spirit soul. And I have to act as a servant of Krishna. So there is difference. Now, however, Rupa Goswami's opinion is that only Kainkaryam, acting as a menial servant of the Lord, is considered Dasyam. So some say that Varnashram actions, offering of the results, is also Dasyam. But Rupa Goswami says only Kainkaryam, acting as a menial servant of the Lord, is Dasyam. One should identify oneself as a servant of the Lord. See, the most important thing is identification. What do you identify? I Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram is there. Kainkaryam means Kinkaram. I am your servant. I am a soul, part and parcel of you. It is said in the Itihas Samuchaya, Janmantare Sahastreshu Yasya Swad Buddhir Idrishi Dasoham Vasudevasya Sarvan Lokan Sa Uddharet. One who has the attitude of being the servant of Vasudev for thousands of births can deliver all people. So identification as a servant of the Lord, one reference Jiva Goswami is giving. He gives another reference. Sridhama Vipra also states in the Bhagavatam. The second reference is giving from the Bhagavatam. Tasseva me sauharga sakyamaitre dasyam punarjanmani swat. Life after life may have love, friendship, sympathy, and service. Dasyam. So here he's also saying that Dasyam, I'm the servant of the Lord. The Dasyam mentioned by Sridhama means being in a position of a servant, according to Sridhar Swami. This service as Kainkaryam means to perform actions of service with respect for the authority of the Lord. there is no real difference between this dasya and paricharya, service, another run, in its pure form. So dasya and paricharya is serving the deity, and we are also acting as servants that time, like that. Now, dasyam, we saw the difference between karmarpanam and kainkaryam. Now, Rupa Goswami will give one scriptural quotation for karmarpanam from the Skanda Purana. And he'll give one quotation from Kainkaryam, which is from the Naradiya Purana. So let us see this, and then if we have questions, we will take up. Tatra Adyam Yatas Kande. So the first one, that is Karmarpanam. Tasmin Samarpitam Karma Swabhavikam Apishware Bhaved Bhagavato Dharma Tat Karma Kim Utarpita. Prescribed duties according to one's nature. Because in karma, we saw varnashram. Varnashram means varna. Varna means swabhava. Swabhava means brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, goodness, passion, ignorance, ignorance. So swabhavikam karmapi. Prescribed duties which is delineated in the scriptures based on one nature. Offer to the Lord. Tasmin Ishware Samarpitam. So the prescribed deities are offered to the Lord. Become Bhagavat Dharma. Bhagavato Dharma Bhavet. What to then speak? Kimuta, of actions of bhakti dedicated to the Lord alone. Tat Karma Arpitam. So here there is a comparison made of, based on identification of Varnashram, you do your Varnashram actions and offer the results to the Lord, and they also become Bhagavad Dharma. But the next statement, if you see, if direct actions are done to the Lord, Tat Karma, for the Lord's purpose only, Tat Karma Arpita. So, what to speak? Kimuta. Kimuta means Kaimutiknai. What to speak of direct actions? That is direct Bhakti Yoga. So even Varnashram actions, karma swabhavikam, offered to the Lord, tasmin ishvare, become Bhagavad Dharma. What to speak then of actions for the Lord, tat karma, such as hearing and chanting. So now I think devotees can understand the technical difference between the two. Direct devotional activities are what? Hearing and chanting. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pan. These are direct devotional services. But in the Varnashram, you identify yourself as a Brahmana and you do your Brahmanical duties. And whenever there is some Krishna Katha, you go and attend that also. You don't do that as a core activity of simply not being attached to your prescribed duties and just doing hearing Krishna Katha. You feel, no, I am a Brahmana, this is my duties. This is according to my nature. That means you still, your Jata Shraddha Mat Katado has not happened. Still the faith in pure devotional service has not fully awakened. So there is difference between actions done according to one's nature and offered to the Lord, and direct actions of bhakti for the pleasure of Lord, that is hearing and chanting. Now, I'm just giving examples from the Bhagavad-Gita. Of course, it is a elaborate topic which, when we study the 18 chapters of Bhagavad-Gita, then we can understand. Karma Yoga is also, in one sense, Bhakti Yoga, but it is called as Bhakti Mishra Karma. Mark this terminology. Bhakti Mishra Karma. The last word is karma. That means karma is pradhan. Karma is predominant. That I do my karma. I am a Kshatriya. My Kshatriya karma is important. And because it is done as an offering to Lord, there is bhakti also in that. But karma is predominant. So that is why Bhakti Mishra Karma, which we call it as Karma Yoga. Okay. So in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna discusses the three modes and he evaluates 6 things. That is determination in the 3 modes, happiness in the three modes, the doer in the three modes, and then intelligence in the three modes, knowledge in the three modes, like that. 6 factors he analyzes in the three modes. And then everyone in this world is engulfed by the three modes. And then he gives those who are in the mode of goodness, the Brahmanas. What are their qualities? I'll just go to the verse, because then you can clearly get clear understanding. Yes. So here, happiness in the three modes. Yeah. There is no being existing either here or among the demigods and the happiness who is free from these three modes born of nature. So everyone is there in the three modes. Now he says, Swabhavam Prabhaktani Gune. Sorry, Swabhava Prabhave Gune. Prabhaver Gune. So the Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishya, Shudra, they are all because of this Swabhava. And then he says, Brahma Karma Swabhavajam, the nature born out of goodness, that they are Shamo, Damo, Tapa, Saucham, like that. And then the Kshatriyas, Shauram, Tejo, Dhriti, Daksham, these are the qualities. Shatram Karma Swabhavajam. This is their Swabhav, nature, actions. They want to do actions based on their nature. They are very powerful. Heroism is there. They are resourceful. They are Yuddha. They are having this fighting spirit. They don't run away. They are generous. And they have this Ishwar Sabhav. The mode of passion means controlling nature is very strong. And then the business class, which we call as the Vaishya, Krishi Gosham. So we know that today all business people are no more in cow protection, but they are only in trade. So this is Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. And then service, Paricharya, is the duty of the Shudras, to serve all the three classes. And then this is the verse I quoted now. So this is the verse which I'm quoting in the slide, is what? Sve Sve Karmana Abhirata Samsiddhim Labate Nara Swakarma Nirata Siddhim Yatha Vindati Tarshunu. Man achieves complete success, attainment of Gyan, Samsiddhi Labate Nara, being engaged in his particular duties. Sve Sve Karmana Abhirata. The Brahmanas are attached, they are according to their karma, Swabhav, they are doing their duties. Kshatriyas are doing their duties. Here how, Tatshunu, one attains success. Yata Siddhim Vindati, by engagement in one's duties. Swakarma Nirita. In the next verse, Krishna mentions the result. Pravriti Bhutanam Yena Sarvam Idam Tata Swakarmana Tam Abharcha Sindham Vindati Manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings, who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection to performing his own work. So, based on our prescribed duties, we offer the results to the Lord. Abhyarcha. Abhyarcha means to worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. Abhyarcha. He can attain Siddhim, perfection. So this is Karmarpanam. Now, let us go to directly doing devotional service. Now, in the 12th chapter of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna firstly describes, I'll have to go to the verse. Let me go to the verse. The 12th chapter, after summarizing Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service, how one who practices Ananya Bhakti, pure devotional service, Krishna will deliver him. In the next verse, that is 12.8, is the progression given in Bhakti Yoga. The topmost level is 12.8, where one's subtle body is completely pure. Mai eva mana adastva, mai buddhim niveshaya, nivashasi mai eva, ata urdvam na samshaya. If your mind is completely fixed in me, your intelligence is fixed in me, then you are residing in me, and there is no doubt you will come to me. That means the subtle body is completely pure. So he will come back to the Lord. Now, if you are not at this level, Krishna says in the next verse, Ata chittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai stiram abhyasa yogena tata amichhaptum dhananjaya. If your chitta is not pure, that is, subtle body is not pure, na shaknosi mai stiram, it is not fixed on me, do abhyas. Abhyasa yogena, he says. So we all experience this when we do our morning chanting. It's not that when we sit for chanting, we just get carried away by the nectar of the holy name and we are in an internal deep meditation and we go in the Lord's abode and completely be absorbed in our chanting. No, we are battling with our mind to hear the mantra. Why? Because the chitta is not pure. So Krishna is saying abhyas, do abhyas. What is abhyas? Whenever the mind wanders, you get it back to the self and hear attentively. So this is abhyas. This is abhyas. And if you do this, what will happen? The more you fix the mind in hearing the holy name, the subtle body will become pure, and then you will have a desire to attain the Lord. Here, the Lord doesn't promise that you will, you will attain me. In this verse, he says, "Ata urdhvam na samshaya," without doubt you will attain. So when you are not able to, when the chit is not pure, then do abhyas and purify, then you will have a desire to attain me. So this is called as the ladder of love. So when the subtle body is completely pure, then you will attain me, Krishna says. Oh, if you are not at this level, then he drops the ladder by one step down. He says, okay, do abhyas, then you will have a desire to attain. And even this, then he says in this verse, which I have quoted in the slide, Abhyasepi asamartosi atkarma paramo bhava madartam api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsasi. If you are unable to practice in this manner, abhyas apya asamartosi, then perform transcendental services to me. Now, please, devotees, note down here. Mat karma paramo bhava. So here the devotee is doing karma, but for directly the Lord. He is not doing karma based on his varnashram nature, swabhava, and he's not doing his prescribed duties based on the identity of varna. He is doing services, direct physical services, engaging his senses, his karmendriyas and gyanendriyas in Krishna service. Physical services for the Lord, like cleaning the temple or, acting, doing all the services for the Lord. Perform activities for my pleasure. Mad artha api karmani kurvan. So I go and get flowers from the market. This is karma yoga. But why? For the pleasure of the deities. So this is not exactly karma yoga, if you see. This is bhakti practiced at the level of karma yoga. I hope it's not so technical, but bhakti at the level of karma yoga. Now, if I tell devotees every day sit and chant 8 hours or 10 hours, because the chit is not pure, and if you regularly do this abhyas, what will happen? You get tired and exhausted because the chit is not pure. So most of the devotees need actions. They need to do actions for Krishna's pleasure because the senses have to get purified. So it is practical for devotees to engage physically in Krishna's service. So the senses get purified. Then the subtle purification of the subtle body, where one can sit in one place and chant. And when the subtle body gets completely purified, then one is living in Krishna. So madartha api karmani kurvan, you will attain perfection, sindhim avapsasi. So here also he is not promising that you will come back to me, but you will attain perfection. So he drops the ladder at one level down. And then further one level down also he drops again Krishna. So my point of discussing these two verses from the Bhagavad-Gita was to point out the difference between karmarpanam and kainkaryam, offering the results of prescribed duties and acting as a menial servant. The difference between offering our prescribed duties based on our nature we act and offering it to Lord, by which we can attain the Lord, but direct doing bhakti is superior. So that was tat karma. Tat karma was mentioned. What to speak of actions for the Lord. Tat karma is what I was focusing. And karma swabhavikam is what I discussed here in 18.6. And tat karma is here. Mat karma or tat karma is same. Madartamapi karmani. Same. Now, any questions you have regarding what we discussed up till now? Was this discussion clear? Of course, we'll have to study the Bhagavad-Gita and understand these differences between Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and within, Bhakti Yoga there is Mishra Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. So like that. But I try to bring out these points: difference between karma as an offering to the Lord based on Varnasrama, where identification is based on the Varna, and karma, which is directly done for the Lord as a servant of the Lord. So how that is directly devotional service, but again in Bhakti Yoga also there are levels. I brought out from that verses from 12.8, 9, 10. We know that 12.8 is not the level which we are on. It's either 12.9 and 12.10 we practice. And within 12.10 also, we practice at two different levels, indirect and direct. Like, say the brahmacharis are in the temple, they go out for book distribution. Now, this is action we are doing, but we are doing it for whom? We have Prabhupada's pleasure and Krishna's pleasure, because that is pleasing to the Lord, distributing the knowledge of Bhagavad-Gita. So the congregation also can participate in it, and they also doing directly these actions for Krishna's pleasure. That is mat karma. That is what is called as mat karma. Mat karma paramo. Mat karmani, doing all these actions for Krishna. And then suppose some of the devotees in the congregation, they are busy with their work, they cannot do directly these actions. They can indirectly do, okay, I'm not able to come out with you devotees for book distribution. Let me sponsor some books. Or I'll buy you some book bags so that you can carry these books back. So whatever work he's doing, he's offering those results of his work by offering a kind of donation. And at the same time, he will see that whether he can come regularly to temple and do some services. So when we are doing services in the temple directly, services at home for the deities, that is directly for the Lord. But again, when we are doing our worldly work, then that is not directly actually. It is gaun karma actually. But we should try to dovetail it as far as possible directly for the pleasure of the Lord. So that is a little difference. Okay, so I will just take 2-3 more slides and finish this discussion. Yes, yeah. So just 3-4 slides I will take and finish this. Okay. So now let us see what further Rupa Goswami has to say. Dasyam karmarpanam, acting as a servant offering prescribed duties. So already he has given the reference from the Skanda Puran, but now he is clarifying some things here. Karma swabhavikam bhadram japa dhyana chadicha itidam dvividam krishne vaishnavera dasyam arpitam. There are two categories of this Varnashram Dasyam. Iti idam dvi vidham dasyam, offered by the Vaishnavas to Krishna. Krishne Vaishnavar Arpitam, offering the auspicious among the prescribed actions according to one's nature, Bhadram Swabhavikam Karma, and offering only actions such as japa, meditation, and deity worship. Japa, dhyana, archadi, japa. Now, within this karmarpanam, there are these two categories within the Varnashram Dasyam. Okay, let us see Jiva Goswami what he has to say. There are two types of offering obligatory actions in Varnashram. Swabhavikam here means those impressions attained from previous lives, which give one a particular identity in the Varnashram. Somebody is born with Sattvic impressions. He is in the mode of goodness, so he is intellectual. So he is a Brahmana. And in the Varnashram system, he will do the Brahmanical duties because that is his Swakarma based on the Swabhava. So it is based on the identity of Varnashram. Among those actions prescribed by that identity is of the identity of the Swabhava. Only those that are auspicious are offered to the Lord and not others, such as cleaning oneself with earth after passing nature. But you know, Mahaprabhu, when he was answering nature's call, his tongue was vibrating the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and he was holding his tongue because he thought, I am doing such an inauspicious act and it's not proper. So then there was Gopal who came there. He said, what are you doing? He said, how can I do the pure chanting of the Lord name when I'm doing such an inauspicious act of answering nature's call? But then what if you leave your body at the time? So then Mahaprabhu accepted a yes. And then he was Gopal Guru, he became the Guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But here, in the karma, especially in the Varnashram, there is this, auspicious and inauspicious activities, that kind of discrimination. But in bhakti, it is completely transcendental. Even, in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, it will come that one who leaves his body in the Uttarayan or in the Dakshinayan, what is the destination? So there are auspicious times and inauspicious times. But Prabhupada in 8.27 in the purport mentions that a devotee, whether he leaves by accident or by arrangement, he will definitely he will attain the Lord's abode. So it's not that, this pure devotee died in an accident, maybe because he might attain an inauspicious destination. No. These all considerations are there in Varnashram, but for pure devotional service, these considerations are not there. For us, our consideration is based on a paradigm shift, based on Sharanagati, that is what is favorable, Anukulesa Sankalpa, Pratikulesa Varjana. We should consider from that. As well, japa and other spiritual actions which are part of Varnashram activities are offered. So within the Varnashram prescribed duties, a person who is a Brahmana also will, one of his duty as a part of Brahmana is to do japa or do deity worship. So when he is doing japa or deity worship, these are direct devotional activities. If the Vaishnava offers these two types of actions to Krishna, they are called dasyam. So if a Vaishnava offers these two types of action, then they are dasyam. But those who identify with this Varnashram, no. For them, he will consider that some are auspicious, I can offer, like japa or deity worship. Some which are inauspicious, I don't offer, like that. Now I have summarized here in the chart. You can see here, dasyam, there is karmarpanam, offering of the results of prescribed duties. There is kainkaryam. Let's come to karmarpanam. Offering the auspicious among the prescribed actions according to one's nature. And offering only actions such as japa, meditation, and deity worship. Now, according to Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami, only one, that is this karmarpanam, B, that is offering of japa, meditation, and deity worship is considered dasyam. Kainkaryam is of course considered as dasyam. So only one B is considered as dasyam and not the first A is not considered as dasyam according to Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami. Okay, another verse. Next, he further clarifies. Mrudu shadyasya katayita swalpa karmadhikarita tad arpitam arodasyam iti kaishchit udirate. Some persons say kaschit udirate that this offering of deities tad arpitam haro by a person with weak faith in bhakti mrudu shadyasya and a slight qualification for prescribed duties swalpa karma adhikarita is called das. Dasyam iti. So whatever I pointed out in the slide, Rupa Goswami is now telling in the verse. Actually, japa and meditation are considered angas of pure bhakti, even without offering them after performance, because they are direct devotional services. So you need not offer them. So we don't do everyday japa and then arpanam, because they are directly devotional services. There is no question of offering. However, offering the auspicious items among the prescribed duties are not angas of bhakti. So that is why I made this point here in the slide. This is not considered as an anga of bhakti only, but these are directly activities of bhakti. Therefore, the author does not approve the first type of offering mentioned in the previous verse. That is stated in this verse. So the first type of offering is not considered as dasyam. Some people call this offering with weak faith dasyam. This is a summary description of the first type of offering mentioned in verse 185. Because Bhakti Mishra, Bhakti is weak there. And that is why he has more faith in karma rather than faith in direct bhakti, which is Shravanam Kirtanam. So his bhakti is weak, and that's why it is not considered, that's why it is a weak faith dasyam, that's why he says. However, this is very different from the offerings of real dasya mentioned in Shravanam Kirtanam. Since it has already been stated that pure bhakti should not be covered by jnana or karma, this type of dasya cannot be accepted in Uttama Bhakti. So, jnana karmadi anavrita. Anavrita means it should not be covered. This type of person has weak faith. That means the person lacks firm faith that by bhakti, the Lord alone, by bhakti to the Lord alone, everything is accomplished. So he feels that no, my karma is more important. Karma pradhan. Karma has prominence. Karma is actually my goal of life. He doesn't have ultimately that bhakti is the goal of life. So that's why he lacks that faith. Now he gives the second scriptural quote, Vitiyam Yatha Naradiye. I mentioned, if you remember, here, yes, here I mentioned Kainkaryam Naradiya Puran. We saw the Karma Arpanam, then two verses to literally distinguish between them. What is the difference among the two? This is not considered as Anga of Bhakti, and it is not classified as Dasyam, whereas this is Dasyam directly. But Karma Arpanam, second B is considered as Dasyam. Now he is giving the second reference for Kainkaryam. Kainkaryam. This is a famous verse Prabhupada also quotes many times. Ihahayasya harer dase karmana manasa gira nikalaswapi avastatu jivan mukta sa uchyate. He who has a desire to serve the Lord, yasya harer dasya iha, with actions, mind and words, karmana manasa gira, in this world, nikalaso api avastatu, is called a liberated jiva in all circumstances. Jivan mukta sa uchyate. Jiva Goswami says the author indicates his own opinion with the glorification of this type of dasyam, that is Kainkaryam. Iha das, having a desire for certitude. One should have a desire, I am your servant. Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. So that identity is what? Identity is that I am the servant of Krishna. Now, the next anga is Sakyam, which we will take in the next class. Sakyam is again quite elaborate. Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atmani Vedhanam are quite elaborate and quite philosophical. And later on, Rupa Goswami will mention that how these are difficult to practice, especially Sakyam and Atmani Vedhanam in sadhana bhakti. But he will mention how they are difficult. So any questions, any clarifications anyone has up till now, what we discussed? How many could follow Dasyam, the technicalities of Dasyam, Karma, Arpanam, and Kainkaryam, and within Varnasrama, that Dasyam, which is offering prescribed duties and offering directly, some of the prescribed duties which are directly devotional service, that is japa, deity worship, as considered Dasyam. Yeah, it's not so easy to understand it. It takes some time because still we are not well versed with the philosophy of the Gita. The Gita is one book which for devotees, a regular study and a clear philosophical understanding has to come about. And once our foundation of the Gita is clear, then you can build on that the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu, in fact, all other books. So it's very, very important for us, the Gita. Okay. So we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.